Okay, let's dive in. Today we're unpacking a story that's, well, it's enchanting, definitely chaotic, and actually surprisingly insightful. We've got these excerpts from Flight of the Moonlit Dragon, chapters 5 and 6. And believe me, it's quite the journey.
It really is. What's so interesting, I think, is how this quest, which seems pretty straightforward at first, find a cure,
Hmm.
it just morphs into this exploration of, well, unexpected wisdom, really weird alliances, and this very unique kind of magic.
Right. So our mission today is to follow Jebeddo on this really frantic trip to save his friend Cobaltwyrm. And he's guided, or maybe misguided is the better word, by this very peculiar mushroom named Spork.
Yeah, misguided might be part of it.
So get ready for some surprising twists, maybe a few laughs. This story, it really has layers. We're excited to sort of peel them back with you. Okay, so we start with Jebeddo. He's a gnome, and his heart is just pounding, total urgency. His friend, Cobaltwyrm, got bitten by, what does it call it? A rooster snake creature?
Yeah, a rooster snake creature. Doesn't sound pleasant. And time is absolutely running out, so he's desperate, searching for a remedy, and he has, like, zero idea what's coming next.
That urgency, it just immediately establishes these really high stakes straight. It's a time crunch, and it's all driven by loyalty.
Exactly. It's that classic setup. Makes you think, how far would you go if a friend was in real trouble? It's the kind of thing that pushes characters.
And it's right then, when he's totally frantic, that he bumps into our first really memorable character, Spork.
Yep.
And what an entrance. This isn't just like any old mushroom, is it?
Oh, not at all.
Yeah.
Spork pops up and introduces himself as the most knowledgeable mushroom on this side of the plateau, but also the Prince of Therapy and a Master of Remedies,
Yeah.
which is quite a claim.
Yeah.
But then, his first thought is that Jebeddo wants to eat him. It immediately gives you his whole personality. Kind of arrogant, maybe wise, but also a bit paranoid.
And he looks the part too, right? Like size of a pine cone, glowing dots on his cap, spider silk cloak, makes an elaborate bow.
Totally. So Jebeddo, he doesn't waste any time. Explains about his friend, the Bite, this rooster snake creature with wings and a nasty temperament.
And Spork just jumps right in, declares it's venomous, and then, classic Spork. Spork can help. Spork is amazing at helping.
That confidence is just instantaneous. But his logic is where it gets really interesting. He says, if it rhymes, there's some truth to it.
Huh.
That line alone tells you everything. You know the guidance Jebeddo's getting isn't going to be exactly conventional. It's a clue about the whole story's vibe.
Definitely unconventional. So Sport offers this amazing help, but naturally there's a catch. He wants a gift. Jebeddo offers a silver button, probably just grabbing anything, right?
Yeah, just trying to move things along. And Spork kind of scoffs at it, calls it utterly common.
But he takes it anyway, as a temporary offering.
It does. It's the first little peek into Spork's, let's say, unique sense of value. Then he reveals the cure. It's a flower, a moon bloom.
Which only blooms once, at dawn, deep in a tangled grove. Sounds tricky.
Very. And, Spork adds, finding it comes at the right price. Which leads us to
the next demand, a feather. But not just any feather, a very specific one. Jebeddo's still thinking about Cobaltwyrm, trying to say, can we find one on the way? But Spork, nope.
Absolutely not. And this is where it gets fascinating, that shift in priorities. Forget the dying friend for a second. Spork needs the feather of feathers, apparently for his cloche hat, which Jebeddo knows nothing about.
He actually says it's much more important than the flower.
He does. Cannot proceed without it. It really makes you question him. Is he helping? Or is this all about the hat?
Exactly what I was thinking. So this feather obsession, it sends them off on this crazy detour, looking for a feather from a very big, very fierce walking bird, described as having these beautiful blue and turquoise feathers.
Right. And just when you're totally convinced Spork is just being selfish, he has this little moment, admits the bird is quite the detour, says they should focus on the flower.
Oh, yeah, a glimmer of hope. Like maybe he gets the urgency after all.
For a second, yeah. It seems like he's putting Jebeddo first.
Yeah.
But, well...
It doesn't last long, does it? They stop, Spork dramatically announces, "Place of feathers we are!" And Jebeddo just loses it, his face gets flushed, he yells, "But we need a flower, not a feather!" You feel his frustration.
Oh, totally. It's completely understandable. But Spork just says, trust Spork, and then, oh boy. He leads Jebeddo to a nest with 3 tiny baby birds.
Wearing the exact blue and turquoise feathers they need?
Yep, and Spork calls the babies a minor detail, urges Jebeddo to just take a feather before Mama Bird gets back. It's awkward.
More than awkward. And of course, predictable timing, Mama Bird does return, described as massive, fearsome, diving right at them, talons out.
And Spork, Mr. Confident, his reaction is priceless. He whispers, okay, maybe Spork didn't plan this part. Run.
Huh? Leaving Jebeddo to just flee in terror, he feels totally defeated, right? Further away from saving Cobaltwyrm than ever. Just a spectacular failure thanks to Spork. So yeah, we find Jebeddo completely crushed, slumped down onto a cold, rough stone, feeling utterly defeated. He thinks he's failed Cobaltwyrm. He knows dawn has passed, the moonbloom chance is gone. He's just lost. Hopeless.
And that low point is so important. It really highlights the gap between Jebeddo's linear thinking, A leads to B, leads to C, and Spork's chaos method. You feel that hopelessness with Jebeddo, which makes what happens next even better.
Right when he's hit rock bottom, who shows up? Spork, naturally, looking surprisingly smug.
Right.
And he has the feather, that spectacular blue and turquoise feather sitting right on his cap. You just want to throttle him.
Absolutely. And Spork, completely missing the mood, declares nothing is lost. On the contrary, all is well. He even credits Jebeddo's switch running for their success. Zero self-awareness about causing the whole mess. It's pure Spork.
And Jebeddo, understandably, is furious. Like, what good is a feather now? His friend is dying. The flower opportunity is gone.
Right. And that's the moment. Spork taps his chin, gives that knowing grin, and says, remember, the world is much larger than us. Now, watch closely as the second part of my plan unfolds. Suddenly you're thinking, wait, there was a plan.
Exactly. And then Spork hits him with it. Ah, I did tell you, didn't I? Spork can now mock the clock.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where the real magic happens, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. He lifts the feather, and these tiny glowing spores drift off his cap, mix with the feather's colors. It creates this swirling, sparkling mist. The air starts to shimmer and warp. Something major is happening, way beyond just finding a flower.
And as they walk in this mist, these flickering shadows appear. They're replaying scenes they just lived through, like echoes of the past. You see Jebeddo meeting Stork again, offering the button, the argument by the nest, fleeing the bird.
Yeah, it's incredible imagery. And Jebeddo finally gets it. He asks, Spork, are these shadows of the past?
Hmm.
And Spork, with this, cheeky grin, confirms it. Rewind time just a bit. I thought you'd appreciate a second chance.
He just waves it off like a little magic, a little flair, and voila.
And that's the huge reveal. The detour, the feather quest, all that stuff that seems like a pointless, selfish distraction. It was actually necessary in Spork's bizarre logic for his time-bending magic to work. They needed the feather to rewind time. It gives them a literal do-over, making sure the moonbloom is blooming when they get there. It completely changes how you see Spork.
Totally flips the script. So, guided by this glowing fog, they get to the glade, and now it's peaceful, filled with blooming, fragrant flowers. There's hope again.
And Spork points it out, the moonbloom, described as pale, delicate, white as the moon, glowing softly, smells sweet and crisp. Spork says it has the magic to turn frowns into smiles and bring the near-dead back from the brink, which is exactly what Jebeddo needs.
Jebeddo is filled with this true spark of hope. He picks the flower, and he actually thanks Spork, sincerely. Says, I'm sorry I doubted you, Spork. Without you and your unique wit, I wouldn't have found a way. It's a genuine moment.
It is, and Spork, puffs up with pride, but he still asks for another shiny gift. Old habits, I guess.
Yeah. But Jebeddo gently explains, there are more precious things than shiny objects. Tells him Cobaltwyrm's friendship is worth more than gems.
And Spork is kind of confused, but he agrees to take Jebeddo's word for it. Maybe a tiny lesson learned there. Hard to say with Spork.
Maybe. Then, in a nice gesture, Jebeddo invites Spork to actually meet Cobaltwyrm. Spork is delighted, says he's always happy to meet new friends, especially ones with scales. They must sparkle so nicely in the sun. He has no idea.
None whatsoever. And this just sets up the final perfect comedic beat. Spork reassures Jebeddo, don't worry, Spork has seen big, scaly things. Lizards, snakes, even a giant turtle.
Yeah.
His Cobaltwyrm is probably no different.
Famous last words. As they get closer, Jebeddo sees his friend's massive, slumped form. Spork walks a few steps, looking confident, then he falters. Freezes. Wait. That's your friend? That's Cobaltwyrm.
The penny finally drops. Jebeddo admits, maybe a bit sheepishly, yeah, I guess I forgot to mention that she's a dragon.
And Spork's reaction, absolute gold. A dragon. Spork did not sign up for this. Spork deals with cute little critters, not giant fire-breathing monsters.
It's the perfect meltdown. All his bravado just evaporates in an instant.
Stern's tail shouting, you're on your own, gnome. Spork's therapy sessions do not include dragons.
leaving Jebeddo there with the flower, finally smiling, even as Spork runs off. So, okay, what do we take away from all this? We have this frantic quest, this incredibly eccentric guide, and a totally unexpected magical twist. Jebeddo got the cure in the end, but man, what a detour, all thanks to Spork. Yeah, if you connect it to like a bigger picture, it's a fantastic story about how help doesn't always look like help. Sometimes the most roundabout, maybe even annoying path is the one that actually works. It can unlock solutions you wouldn't expect, almost like mocking the clock yourself.
It definitely challenges how you judge things, right? Is this advice good, bad? Is this person helping or hindering? Maybe it's not always obvious.
Exactly. And it highlights different values too. Spork with his shinies and feathers, Jebeddo with the priceless value of friendship.
So this deep dive, it kind of reminds us that even when things seem totally lost, or maybe your companion seems completely nuts, there might be some hidden magic, maybe even a do-over, or just a surprising truth about the help you're getting.
Which brings us to a question for you listening. Thinking about your own life, has there ever been a time when something felt like a huge distraction, a total setback, maybe even something ridiculous? But then, unexpectedly, it actually led to a crucial breakthrough. Maybe it helped you mock the clock on one of your own goals in a way you never saw coming.
Definitely something to think about. Until our next deep dive,